Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com, on Roku, Dwyer Boxing and Sports News. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, let me say this, needs to be said up front. Understand, all of us are in the dark room looking for light, right? I can tell you that I'm coming off of a losing week in NFL betting, right? First losing week of the season, but when it rains, it pours, right? Just understand, when I'm making predictions here online, I'm really just playing the odds, right? I'm looking at a match and I'm saying, is this mispriced? And then we're going to dive in the water and make the pick based on whatever the film tells us. Right? So sometimes we're going to be in line with the public, but you don't hear about that because, of course, here online, I'm just going to pick the matches that I think are gems, right? Where I differ from the public to hopefully help all of us get an edge on the casino, right? Understand, often I'll make picks on guys who I think, if it were even money, I wouldn't bet on. But because I'm getting big odds, I'm going to take that guy, right? If it's a 50-50 fight and the casino is crazy enough to give you a plus 200 or plus 300, you've got to take that play. Now, let's look on the board right now. This is actual odds, at least at one casino, as of October the 21st, 2015, at 9:51 a.m. in the morning, right? There's a bet that I really think is compelling. Let's talk actual odds. I'm mentioning this here because the odds have shifted in the last 24 hours. Now, this isn't just an odds play. This is actually a bet where I think one guy's the better fighter. I believe Miguel Cotto beats Saul Alvarez. Right? I don't see where Alvarez is going to be able to move around the ring like Cotto's going to be able to move around the ring. Right? I don't. Let me say this too. I know online, guys like Roberto Duran, boxing legends, royalty, have openly said that they expect Canelo to win the fight. Right? Let me just say this. I found that boxing legends, I'm talking about the best in history, right? I found them sometimes to have holes in their handicapping skills. And the reason is, a guy like Roberto Duran knows that if he had Canelo's size, he'd be able to impose himself on Miguel Cotto. Right? I believe Duran is attributing certain traits to fighters that the fighter himself might not have. Right? Duran had a back foot game. Just take a look at the at his fight against I forget the guy's name. He beat Thomas Hearns twice. Iran Barkley. Right? You're going to see Duran moving around the ring. Right? In my opinion, Canelo doesn't have that game. Right? I believe Roberto Duran looks at Canelo and sees a lot of himself. The point I'm making to you is he doesn't see all of himself. Well, odds bettors. Understand, yesterday Cotto was a plus 275. Today he's a plus 250. They're giving you the middleweight champion who's on a knockout streak at better than 2-to-1 odds. Right? Think about it. The fight has a catch weight. Didn't Canelo look drained when he fought Floyd Mayweather? Now Canelo is coming in here at 155. Understand, Canelo's the naturally bigger man than Cotto. That 155 limit, even though Cotto has a middleweight title, is going to affect Canelo more than Cotto. Now here's the kicker. Here's why I feel the bet on Cotto really makes itself. It's because I feel Cotto is the more established, savvy boxer. If this fight goes to a decision, I expect Cotto to win the decision. By the way, not that I expect the fight to go to a decision. I think Cotto has a shot at a stoppage here. Right? Understand, since I believe Canelo's only chance of winning this fight is by KO, and he has a big punch, right? In my opinion, his only chance of winning the fight's by KO. Would it surprise you to know that the over-under on this fight is 11.5 rounds? Who made these lines? 11.5 rounds. Did you know that the under 11.5 rounds pays off at a plus 125? So understand, you could take Cotto to win the fight. You could take the under 11.5 rounds at better than even money odds. So if I put the same amount on both sides of the play, and let's say Canelo comes out and destroys Cotto. Let's say he's too big for Cotto. Let's say he knocks out Cotto. Guess what? You're in the line collecting, because you'd have a profit because you're getting better than even money on both sides of the bet. You don't even have to stagger it. You could bet 100 on both sides of the bet and make a profit. But think about this. Let's say I'm right. Let's say Duran's wrong. Let's say I'm right. Let's say Cotto comes out. And Cotto treats Canelo, right? Like Cotto treated Sergio Martinez. By the way, the Martinez fight in some ways is a tougher fight, isn't it? Because, and I know YouTube Nation disagrees with me, Martinez was a better fighter than Canelo. But Martinez was also a southpaw. Just think about that. Right? And of course, the catch weight in that fight was higher than 155. Significantly higher. I believe the catch weight for that fight was 159. I know Martinez had knees that weren't 100%. Aren't we all wondering about Martin Murray's next fight? Didn't Martinez beat Murray shortly before fighting Miguel Cotto? Think about that. Right? My point to you is simply this. Cotto's been knocking guys out. Delvin Rodriguez, Sergio Martinez, Daniel Gill. He's been knocking guys out. He's going to be more comfortable at 155 than Canelo. He moves better than Canelo. He has more experience than Canelo, right? Let's say Cotto gets the knockout. Wouldn't be that surprising, right? Because Cotto's been stopping guys. You collect on both sides of the play. You're getting a plus 250 on the Miguel Cotto just to win the fight. Then you're getting a plus 125 on Cotto winning in under 11.5 rounds. Right? I'm assuming if Cotto gets the stoppage, it won't be in the last 90 seconds of the fight. That's a high over-under. For the gambling hardcore, take a good look at it. I think the wrong guy's the favorite in this fight, so I think you're getting value on the dog. Then I think they left the door open on the over-under. Tell me what's going on here. I thought Canelo's last fight, he destroyed James Kirkland early. That's the punching power. Cotto's last 3 fights, guys are hitting the canvas. And the odds makers made this an 11.5 over-under. All right, I'll take the bait. At these odds right now, I like Cotto to win. And I like the under 11.5 as a hedge. Let's talk about another fight, and I know the public disagrees with me. You know what? I'm a guy who believes that a good trainer adds a lot of value. Right? It's reassuring to me when I look at Vladimir Klitschko's corner, or when I looked at his corner back in the day, and I saw him with Emanuel Stewart. Right? Not surprisingly, Klitschko, who always had a good jab, actually figured out that he needed to use that jab after he got with Emanuel Stewart. Right? But understand, a good trainer needs time to do his work. right? Miguel Cotto can sign with Freddie Roach. You would imagine the day after Miguel Cotto signed, he wouldn't have totally absorbed Freddie's point of view, right? When does that total absorption take place? Because there's a learning curve, isn't there? Right? Just because I sign with the guy doesn't mean that the day after I sign, I have that guy's teachings. Right? I can sign with Nacho Beristain today. How many days is it going to take me to learn what he's saying? And then when the bullets start flying, rather than just take out my gun and start firing it the way I have always done, now I'm going to think about, hey, would Nacho even want me to take out my gun here? What would Nacho do in this situation? I'm telling you, that stuff takes time. I can't call up Robert Garcia today and then suddenly tomorrow be a prototypical Robert Garcia fighter. Now, the people behind Timothy Bradley want you to believe that Bradley meets up with Teddy Atlas, and now he's a Teddy Atlas fighter. I've read interviews here online where Bradley says, oh, I've learned more in the first 5 minutes than I have over the last several years, right? I read stuff like that, and I'm like, whoa, which Timothy Bradley's going to show up in the ring? Old Timothy Bradley, without his trainer, Joel Diaz, right? Or a confused Timothy Bradley. Someone who's in the ring thinking, oh, gee, this is how I used to do it. What was Teddy talking about the other day in training camp? This is while, of course, the bullets are flying, while he has one of the sport's more aggressive fighters in front of him. Now, I believe one of the secrets to Timothy Bradley's success is the fact that he's great on the inside. He's a rare fighter on the inside, and he's a switch. He could also get on his back foot and, flash a jab. Look at his fight against Marquez, right? He's not going to have any inside advantage against Brandon Rios, and the casinos are going to give you a plus 350 on Brandon Rios right here? Look, I know Rios is the big dog, right? You know he's a big dog when he's a plus 350, right? The casino's telling you that if these guys fought 4.5 times, Brandon Rios would only win one of the 4.5 matches, right? That's a, plus 350. Sign me up. I don't buy it. Bradley looks like he's a little bit older. I'm shocked that he split with his trainer. I don't believe in a few months he's going to fully be a Teddy Atlas fighter. I'm a skeptic. There's heavy risk involved, but you know what? At some point, the casino is compensating you for the risk. Right? I wouldn't touch Brandon Rios if this were an even money fight. I wouldn't touch Brandon Rios if this were a plus 150. You get to plus 200, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe I need to step in line. You get to plus 250, I'm standing up. You get to plus 350, I'm in line, I'm laying money. I like Brandon Rios at these odds. Let's talk about the heavyweight division. Now let me say this. This isn't a fight I'd bet on because the odds are ridiculous. The guy is a minus 5,000. But if you don't know about Andy Ruiz Jr., you need to learn about him. Right? Boxing has many types of guys. Right? You have some guys who have a lot of talent. Terrence Crawford used to fall in this category. Who just haven't had the opportunity. Right? The thing between them and public consciousness is just that big fight. Right? I put Andy Ruiz in that category. This guy is one of America's best heavyweights. Right? He has a fight coming up against Rafael Love. I encourage everyone to watch it. Because Andy Ruiz has certain gifts, hand speed, combination, ring savvy, that quite frankly, I don't think you can teach. Right? This guy's one of America's best heavyweights. He's fighting in the next, couple weeks or so. Just circle the name, Andy Ruiz Jr. This guy's a major talent. right? Let me say this too. The one thing that worries me about Andy Ruiz is he's a guy who carries a little bit of weight. Now, we don't mind this in football, right? A guy looks big. You know what? If he can move, we'll say, hey, good for him. You know what I mean? You know, if the guy's a linebacker or a lineman and he has a little bit extra weight, we say, hey, it's okay. We're going to go by the guy's 40 time. We're going to go by the guy's burst. We're going to go by the guy's energy level. Right? Now, Andy's like Jackie Gleason. He's light on his feet. He has a little bit of extra weight. Lord knows he has hand speed better than most heavyweights. But you know the rest. This is boxing. It's a beauty contest. It's almost like gymnastics because you have these judges scoring the performance. So everyone was down on Andy. We heard more about his weight than his game. And Andy has apparently lost a lot of weight. Right? Andy, my point to you is, don't lose too much. This isn't the middleweight division where you have to worry about the weigh-in. This is the heavyweight division. Right? Worry about what you feel comfortable at. I want Andy in there feeling good about himself. Right? I don't want him in there thinking about, missing dessert. Missing that steak. Being in the sauna. Forget all that. Right? Just have yourself in shape to go the distance. Then go out and do work. Anyway, keep an eye on Andy Ruiz Jr. Let me say this too. American heavyweights. Understand the scene here is simply, even with Deontay Wilder, the scene here is not what it is overseas. Right? Overseas, they're talking about Klitschko. They're talking about Tyson Fury. Right? They're talking about Lucas Brown. Right? Guys who are unbeaten or guys who've been champ for years. Joseph Parker, right? Anthony Joshua, right? You're hearing names and you're seeing young guys. You're saying, oh my God, this guy has a lot of upside, right? That's not to say that Parker or Joshua are finished products yet. I don't believe they are. But let's say overseas, the heavyweight division is very, very, very promising. Here in the States, we're looking at senior citizens like Tony Thompson. And he's still in the mix. Right? He's facing another guy who is in his 30s. Right? Malik Scott. In other words, the cupboard here is a little bit bare. Well, anyway, they're having a fight. And to my utter amazement, and understand, Thompson is a difficult matchup. He's a southpaw who can operate behind a jab, but who's really a knockout puncher. Right? You'd be hard-pressed to find a guy who has fought more problematical matchups at heavyweight. Right? This is a guy who fought Adelaide Solis. This is a guy who fought Carlos Takam. This is a guy who fought Kubrat Pulev. This is a guy who fought Vladimir Klitschko twice. Right? If Tony Thompson's trying to avoid the tough guys in the heavyweight division, he's doing one hell of a poor job. Well, now he's fighting Malik Scott. Now, Malik Scott is a mover who operates behind a jab. He's kind of like an Ali wannabe. Right? Malik Scott is not going to sit down on punches. He's not going to stay in the pocket and actually duke it out with you. Right? What people don't realize is what Tony Thompson did to David Price twice. That's actually Tony's real game. Tony's really a knockout puncher. So, I heard about Tony Thompson facing Malik Scott, and I said, oh, obviously Tony is going to be the favorite here, right? He's the guy with the bigger punch. He's the guy who, quite frankly, has fought more people. Right? He's the southpaw. He's the guy who's harder to replicate in the gym. Would you believe that right now Tony Thompson is the underdog in this fight? Sign me up. I like Tony Thompson in this fight. I think the boxing public is off here. Right? Understand where you make profits is the gap between what the crowd thinks and what's really going on. Let me leave you with this. There's a guy here online. He does great work here online. I enjoy watching his videos. 78 Sports TV. He talks boxing, and he has a clip up where he is, roughing up Adrian Broner. Because Adrian Broner is apparently thinking about fighting Ashley Theophane. Right? He says, hey, Ashley Theophane is a bum. I am positive, I have no doubt in my mind that when that fight gets posted at casinos, Broner is going to be a huge favorite. A huge favorite. If you want to know where I'm going to be when that fight gets posted, just look in line at the sports book, because I'm going to be there trying to put at least some money on Ashley Theophane. Theophane is one of those talented fighters who, again, just hasn't gotten a full opportunity. He fought Danny Garcia. Isn't Danny Garcia still unbeaten today? Isn't Danny Garcia wearing belts? Right? Isn't Danny Garcia the kind of guy who, if you heard he was fighting Adrian Broner, a lot of people would say, hey, Danny's going to take that. Well, Danny Garcia fought Ashley Theophane in 2010. That fight went the distance. Danny Garcia, unbeaten fighter, won that fight, according to the judges, by split decision. That's who Ashley Theophane is. Right? Now, Broner is a master if you're standing in front of him, isn't he? Master. If you're moving around the ring, if you have lateral movement, Broner's style, which has gotten him multiple titles, starts to fall apart. Right? I took Paulie Malignaggi against Broner. I believe that fight was a split decision. I took Sean Porter against Broner. Sean Porter won that fight. Ashley Theophane has a jab, has experience, has been in the game a long time, has lateral movement, is slippery, is hard to find in the ring. He's a live underdog against Adrian Broner. Right? Broner has a lot going for him. I wouldn't take Theophane if this fight were even money. But wow, if you're going to make Broner a prohibitive favorite against a vet like Theophane, who's been hanging around the Mayweather gym for years, you can only imagine the level of sparring Theophane has had. Right? If you're going to make Broner a big favorite, sign me up on the Theophane side of the ledger. Right? Because Theophane might undress Broner. The way I would play it would be Theophane to win. Right? I'd hedge the play with probably the over. Right? Simply because I see this fight going several rounds. It's a competitive fight. Here again, I'm guessing Adrian Broner is using Tony Thompson's matchmaker because he's running into all of these tough stylistic fights. If Broner's looking for an easier fight, right? If he's looking for an opponent who is just going to be there to get hit, I'm just telling the boxing public here, whatever public opinion is, that fighter's not Ashley Theophane. Theophane is a real opponent. Right? Again, the play for me at least is Theophane to win at great odds, hedged with the over. In other words, even though Broner has destroyed some guys, DeMarco for example, early in fights, right? I believe Theophane would be able to handle Broner for several rounds, at a minimum. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me hear yours. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section to this video. Understand, I know I'm going against public opinion here on several fights. I do agree with the public on some fights, right? But I do feel that boxing, more than other sports, is a sport where A lot of these matches are mispriced because I believe in boxing sometimes we get too caught up in the hype. People here online know I have the utmost respect for Timothy Bradley. I do consider Bradley to be one of the best fighters in the sport pound for pound. I do consider Teddy Atlas to be one of the best trainers in the sport. In fact, we'll use the pound for pound phrase. Pound for pound, Teddy Atlas is one of the best trainers in the sport. But if there's a playoff game in football and I were to hear that Tom Brady and the Patriots were going with some coach other than Bill Belichick, hey, that would affect how I look at the game. You're telling me that before fighting Brandon Rios, a guy with one of boxing's best chins, right? Tell me the Rios fight where he's on the canvas rolling around, right? No. Yeah, one of boxing's best chins. You know, too, in a Rios fight, his corner never has to say to him, be more aggressive. You know, Rios is going to be aggressive. You're telling me against Brandon Rios, you're going to change your trainer? Give me the plus 350 on Rios in that fight. Anyway, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Thanks for stopping by.